Hey guys, welcome back.
Hey.
Hey, this is our second podcast. I
Ah!
can't believe it. We did one start to finish. We hope you enjoyed it. We had a good time making it and hope that you learned a little bit about us, mostly Liz, because I know I did some talking, but it was about Liz. And then today we're going to learn a little bit more about me. And we want to welcome you to
Grace after grief,
our story for
His
His glory.
glory. Hey.
All right. So, hope you all had a wonderful holiday. We're probably way past the holidays now.
Oh,
but
yeah.
we're recording around the holidays, so
Yes.
it's still fresh in my mind. But yeah, so we're gonna we've got about 30 minutes that we're just gonna talk and get to know me a little bit better, but you in the process as well,
Yeah.
so that our listeners know a little bit more. And then on the next podcast, we're going to talk more about where we're going in this story.
Yeah.
Of course, where we think we're going, because of course God has different plans, I'm sure. So we're just along for the ride. So yeah, I'm all set.
Awesome.
I got my Kleenex.
Okay.
I'm good
We're
to go.
If you don't know, this is our third co-host. This is Mr. Kleenex. So, if you didn't catch that from the first one, we cry, we laugh,
do.
we giggle,
Yeah,
but
we do.
we're all here for a purpose. So
That's
here
right.
we go.
That's
All
right.
right, Jen. Do you want to give any backstory before we start? Because I feel like I might have.
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
I can. So I'm a little bit older than you.
No way.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than you. I don't bother looking at the hair. But anyways, so I was married, divorced, before I met my late husband. I have 3 grown children, a stepdaughter and 5 grandchildren. And I think for me, like when I got divorced, I said, I'm never going to get married again. I'm never going to do that. I don't want to do that. I just want to live my life happily ever after, all by myself. Just me and my kids and whatever happens, and that's fine. And then this man came into my life. And at the time, I was working for a bank, and he was one of the customers at the bank. And he just had a way. He just was like relentless. And he was like, I would like to take you out for a date. And I was like, no, I don't date. I'm not doing that. And he was like, no, really, here's my telephone number, And so I didn't call. I was like, nope, not calling him. And as it turns out, at that time I think I was training for a marathon or something. And I was coming out of one of the places that I was running, and his vehicle happened to pass by. And so he pulled off the side of the road and he was like, you haven't called me. And I was like, yeah, you're right. So I just basically said, in my mind, I'm just going to go out with him one time for dinner and then I'm done. And I think I mentioned it in the last podcast, but he picked me up that night for dinner, and I got in the truck and we were headed to Sebring for dinner. And by the time we were about 15 minutes away from my townhouse, he laughed. And when I heard his laugh, I just fell in love. It was like the hardest fall. It was fantastic. He just had such an amazing personality, a great laugh. And from that moment on, that was in July of 2016. We were married November 11th of 2016.
Wow.
Like, that's how fast we knew. He just said, this is it. This is where I want to be. And I was like, and he even kind of had to convince, I was like, no, I'm not getting married again. We could just live together. And he was like, no, we can't just live together. I'm not going to live like that. And so by October, he just was like, are you going to marry me or not? And I was like, yes, I'm going to marry you. So we got married on my birthday. It was on a Friday night. And it was absolutely beautiful. It was everything. He didn't want pictures, and I was like, no, we're getting pictures. So we had pictures, which I'm so glad now that we had those pictures. The kids participated. It was just fantastic. But to, fast forward a little bit, he was, I was one of the things, like I had this list after, that after I got divorced, and I was like, this is, if I ever do date again, they have to fit into this box,
Right.
like this is how it has to work. And one of those things was they couldn't be a smoker. But he was a smoker. And I was just like, oh, I can live with it. It's okay. I can live with it. Cause and I did, and he was fine. And he tried several times to quit, and it didn't work out. But unfortunately he was, in 2020, he got really sick. My grandson, was in daycare at that point and coming back, and, kids come back from daycare, and he kind of got a little cold, and Larry got it and couldn't get rid of it. And we thought it was bronchitis, and we thought it was all these things. And after some testing, we found out that he had lung cancer. So that's kind of where it all started at that point. That was, we were married at that point a little over 4 years. So we went through treatment and we did all the things, and the tumor shrank, and everything was looking really good. And then he had a massive heart attack at 3:30 in the morning. So, I think for me, the hardest part was reconciling grief because I lost my husband, and then trauma. I was the baby was sleeping because at that time I had custody of his grandson, and the baby Ollie was sleeping, but he woke up and, he made it to the bathroom, and there was a lot of things happening, and I remember calling 911, and just things happened, and by the time they got there, I kind of like you were saying, but like I just had that. I knew this was not going to turn out good. But they worked on him and they tried really hard, and my kids were there by that point, like 4 o'clock in the morning. My kids all came, and they were all at the house with me, and I remember when the officer came in and he said, "I'm sorry." And when I heard those words, that's all I heard was, "I'm sorry." I've never had that happen before, but my legs collapsed.
Yes.
And my son was right there, and he picked me up and he put me in the chair, and I just remember that was like the turning point when I knew this is never going to be the same. So that's kind of, how it happened. And then right after Larry passed, literally like right after he passed, I was like, I cannot let somebody else go through this without some kind of resource or some kind of. There were so many questions. I can remember. I haven't even given you a chance to ask me any more questions. Just kind of running through this.
No, you're fine.
But I think the biggest thing was, like you were saying, that whole week after, like literally my house filled up with people instantly when he died. Instantly. It was family, it was friends, it was food, it was nonstop, it was the funeral director, it was all of these things happening every single day. And to the point where, Larry has grown up. He grew up in Lake Placid. He had many family and friends. His whole business life, everything was here. So when he passed, there was hundreds of people that turned up, and that's great. We had to get another refrigerator. Like I had to borrow a
I remember you
refrigerator,
telling me that.
yeah, and I had to borrow a fridge, put it on the back porch to keep all the food going. And the day after the funeral, I was the only one by myself at the house, and I had to clean out the refrigerator. And I was like, this is not what should be happening. And it's nothing wrong with people or society. It's just that's what happens. You know, I- Sorry. I'm so sorry you lost your husband, and and they really are. They truly are. But I got to get to work, or I have to go take care of my family, or I have to. And then all of a sudden, they're gone. And you're just looking around like this house, like I didn't want to leave my house.
Yes.
Everything I had was right there. I still have all of his clothes
Oh.
in boxes. They're not in the closet because, of course, they take up too much closet space.
Yeah.
Gotta have my clothes. Um, but they're there, and it's a comfort knowing that they're there. And I haven't been able to do anything with them yet. There will be a time. I'm have other plans, and the house is gotten to a point where going back to that house for me doesn't have the same feeling anymore. So my son still lives there for now. That will be changing soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, he still lives there for now. So it's just not the same. So things change.
Yeah, they do.
You can't help
Mhm.
it. You can't help it.
Yeah.
So,
And like for me, he passed at the end of February. So at Easter, my mother had stayed with me 6 months. She lives in Arizona. So shout out, Mama. Hi. But she was staying with me, and we had Easter, and we had family over, and the whole day. It was the first holiday, But I remember after crying so much that day, I was just like, these clothes have got to go into a box. I just can't look at them anymore. And I'm just here to tell you that whether you're a widow or a sister or a brother or a mother or father that lost somebody, and you want to keep their clothes next to yours, or you want to get rid of them immediately, there's nothing wrong with either one of those,
there's nothing.
because people will probably judge you for whatever you do no matter what. So just remember that.
That's it.
But I was packing them up and just had a complete mental breakdown. And I just wanted to kind of like, either way is fine. Just I wanted to kind of like shout that out to people, because sometimes
Absolutely.
you see somebody going through something and you're like, wow, they did that quick, or wow, she's still hanging on to that, or wow, they can't get rid of. It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter because even though we've both lost our husbands, we've totally did it differently. We've totally
Absolutely.
done it differently, and that's okay. And that's just how it is.
And that's truly, I mean, we're just two examples, but
Right.
I have talked to several widows.
Yeah.
I can't even keep count of the people. We had like a little widow group going there for a while of just trying to, get people out and do things because every one of us handles it differently. We have some that never want to leave their house, some that have small children and you have to all of a sudden start like I had Ollie, so and you have
Right.
and you just have to keep doing those daily things whether you want to do them or not. Some of them like, I'm can say my husband passed. Some of them don't say that.
Right.
It just depends on the person, the relationship, the circumstances. It's all different for everybody. And I think the biggest thing for me is like, I'm going to live my life authentically. I've never been a widow before. So there's like, I don't know how to do it. This is how I've learned how to do it. And for my healing process, it's worked. Have I stumbled?
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. But I've learned and I think that's for me, I don't know how to process it any differently than it being a learning process. I'm not going to wallow in it. I'm not I have to be able to say, "Okay, God, what's next?" Um
Amen. Yeah.
and that was it. So I just one little baby step at a time and then sometimes I wouldn't be able to take a step at all,
Mm.
just kind of sit there and hang out for a few minutes and then days, weeks, whatever, and then you take the next step.
Right.
And that's all you can do.
Absolutely.
That's it.
All right. Well, let's get, since you did already go into some questions.
I jumped ahead. I might have known them. No.
Right. Okay. So I know we did our first question, but do you want to talk about our unexpected reality? So, what was one thing about the grieving process or the practicalities of being a young or unprepared widow that absolutely blindsided you? And what did you do to navigate in those early days?
Hmm. There's so many things that come to mind.
Yeah.
I think for me, just the separation from people that it causes.
Right.
People don't want to be separate from you, but they don't know how to act around you now,
Yeah.
and they don't know what to do, and they don't know what to say because they don't want to hurt your feelings, and they don't know, do they bring him up? Do they not bring him up? For me personally, talk about him.
Yes, please.
I want to talk about
Me
him.
too.
I feel like now, after 4 years, I'm really like the only one that talks about him. So I'm keeping his memory alive by talking about him. And that's so important. But then there's some people that are like, I can't, I don't want to talk about it. I can't.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Right.
That's okay. And so for us to feel, I mean, that was the biggest thing for me was to feel like people don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. So they just don't say anything. They don't do anything, and I've been there. I get it. But that was the hardest part for me was to like, okay, well, I just got to put on my big girl pants and go with this because I don't know what else to do. And that was probably the defining like pivotal moment for me was just to realize there is nobody else. It's me, and I have to do this.
Yeah.
And I dug into. I've always been a journaler. So from years and years, I've just, I'm all about like a pen and a piece of paper and writing my thoughts down and mostly my prayers. It's not even my thoughts necessarily. It's just my prayers to God. And so that's what I did. I took back to journaling and just crying out to God. And music was a huge thing for me. I found songs that I didn't go searching for, but they ended up on my Spotify playlist, and I just listened to them over and over and over again. And to me, they felt like him saying, "It's going to be okay, and you just have to learn to take that next step."
Yeah.
And that was the hard part was, and I would just put the song back on again and cry some more. And I did it this morning, even on my way to here. Like, I was like, I haven't heard that song in a while. Let me go back to it. And then daily devotionals. I grabbed a couple daily devotionals like Streams in the Desert and just different things that kind of helped me. So I became like, I drew more in, but then by doing that, then I also, that yearning of wanting to help other people. So I did reach out. I had, there's a very close friend of mine. Her husband passed, I think 2 months before Larry. And so we started doing things together. And because she could understand how I was feeling, and I could understand how she was feeling.
Right.
And that's kind of why we just, we started going places and doing things. And because then otherwise you're doing it by yourself,
Yeah.
you know? And that was hard. So I was just like, no, 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 no. So we started doing things together. We went to the Strawberry Festival, we went to concerts, we just
Oh,
did
I love
things. And then
that.
that group just kind of grew, and unfortunately I met more and more widows because of that. And then just because of life circumstances, you know, the minute I heard about Tim, I think I took Leadership Highlands the year before you did, I
Yes.
think.
Uh-huh.
And then you took it. And so I had met you during orientation,
Right.
and we kind of did that. And then the day that I heard about Tim's accident, all I wanted to do was like just get to you. Like
Oh.
I could remember. I just was like, nobody knows what she's going through, and I know what she's going through, and and I just wanted to be there. And then when we actually finally got to sit down and talk together
Yeah.
at that coffee shop,
Mm-hmm.
and to listen to you say the same things that I was thinking,
Right.
and then especially with like trying to help other people, um, that was huge. And that was for me, like, I was like, man, that's to be able to have that. So we stayed in contact, and we decided that this is what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and here we
I know.
are.
Podcast too.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So, then the title of our podcast, we use the word grace. Where did you first find a sense of grace, strength, or acceptance during your deepest grief?
Well, God has obviously been very graceful towards me. And I've had to learn to show grace towards others, which is hard sometimes.
Yeah,
I
we're
had
human.
yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. And there's a couple of, circumstances that I know. I was attending a church um, after Larry passed, and a spirit-filled church. Um, and that's great. That's where he was going, and I was going to church with him. And then when he passed, I can remember there was an evening where they laid hands on me and prayed for the spirit of grief to be lifted off of me. And I thought, but you don't even understand it's only been a couple of months after he's passed. And I felt like I was burdening them with my grief. So I was like, no, that's not really how you're supposed to feel or make somebody feel. And then just things like that happened. So I just had to like be graceful in those moments. And a lot of times, we're all human. We're going to let each other down. That's what
Yeah.
happens. We're created that way, unfortunately, and that's how it goes. So yeah, to be able to extend grief to others. And I think if anything, I walked away now knowing that, okay, God, I know how you work. I know how this goes, but I've been through the hardest thing in my life and I survived it. So no one, I can do all those other things. I can do them all. It's okay. The hard stuff is really not that hard. That's the biggest thing I've learned.
Yeah, my whole life obviously has changed, but my whole perspective on life has changed too. I think it was the last podcast you had mentioned. You told God, "All right, if you're ready for me, I'm ready." And I, not so much so more as I used to, but I used to pray for the rapture all the time. So I get that.
Yeah,
You
Jesus,
know,
come
it's just like,
back.
okay, I'm ready. He's there. I'm good. I'm good.
Right.
I'm ready to
Jesus,
go.
you can come back now.
But
It's
God's not
okay.
done with us. And that's what I have to remember. So we're still here for a purpose. And I think this might be it.
You think? Like that's what I said. I just want one person to just, you know, find this podcast, trip over this podcast one day or something and be like, wow, because of those circumstances and that they went through, I made my will, or I had that tough conversation,
Right.
or I can remember being at a local restaurant years ago. My father passed in 2012, and it was obviously before that. And we were sitting at the restaurant. My brother and my sister were there, and he said, just out of nowhere, and he was like, I want to be cremated. And I was like, Dad, what are you doing? Like, why did you?
Yeah.
But that was the best gift he gave me
Right.
because then I knew,
Right.
we had to have that tough
Yeah.
talk.
Absolutely. Okay. I was trying to find that one. You asked me. I'm trying to. There it is. Okay. Was there a specific piece of advice? I know you kind of touched on this, but I want you to go in a little bit deeper if you don't mind. A book or conversation that truly acted as a turning point in your journey towards healing and finding a new purpose.
Absolutely. Well, it was the Bible for sure.
Oh yeah. Amen.
The Bible for sure. I really dug deep into the Bible, and then the Streams in the Desert book that I
Mhm.
mentioned, that was fantastic. That was a daily devotional,
Okay.
and journaling. I mean, if my kids, when the day comes, just burn the journals. Don't
You
read
don't
them,
need to
kids.
read
Don't
them.
read them. Because I literally poured my heart, everything, every question, every feeling, every emotion, everything went into writing, um, because I didn't know where that was my outlet. So I think that was the biggest thing, and that's where I kind of, I'm still to this day. I'm a big list maker. Always going to be a list maker. Sometimes I try digitally, but most of the time it's pen and paper because I just feel good that way.
Mhm.
I can't pass the aisle in Marshalls where they have all the books. I have to stop
It's
there.
so good.
It
Yeah,
is.
it's so good.
It
And they're
is,
cheap. Right, you
yeah.
can have so
It's
many.
like $4. Not a big deal. I have lots of them. But that was for me,
That's
like
awesome.
going and getting that new journal, writing in it, and then day after day after day, just um, recording how I felt, And some days were great, and then some days I look back and I was like, "Wow, you were off your rocker that day.
Yeah.
You were crazy." But then knowing too that was, and just knowing that the next day you get to try again.
Yes.
I may have failed completely on Monday, but then God says, "Here's Tuesday."
Right.
Here's Wednesday. And then before long, for me, it's a little more than, it was October 10th of 21 when Larry passed away. So we're 4 years. We're a little more than 4 years into it. I cannot say that grief is gone. It's never going to be gone. I think that's the big misconception for a lot of people is they say, "Gosh, it's been 4 years. She must be over it by now." For the record, I'm never going to be over it.
Amen.
Um,
And just because we're with different people doesn't mean we're over it either. Just want to give that a little shouty shout right
Correct.
there.
Correct. And we'll talk a little bit more about our other halves now.
Yes.
But for me, Mark, he himself, his perspective is different. He was a widow early on. He had two little girls who are now in their late 30s, early 40s, and his wife passed when his youngest daughter was 4. And I can remember having a conversation with him early on when I met him, and I was like, "Yeah, as being a widow," and he's like, "I never identified as a widower.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't do that." He said,
Yeah.
"I just had to keep going, So maybe one day we'll get him here, and
I would love that.
Yeah.
Josh has already said, if you want me on the podcast, I'll do it.
I love that. That's fantastic.
I
Very
do.
good.
We love a supportive boyfriend.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Very cool.
Okay, so what do you hope who do you hope is listening to this podcast, and what is the single most valuable takeaway you want them to get from our episodes?
I hope everybody's listening.
Yeah.
But I hope everybody's listening, but really it's that one. If you have lost someone that you love, it could be a spouse, it could be a child, it could be a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, a best friend, a dog. I don't care. Your heart hurts when you lose someone. And to be able to just say, "I'm not the only one. Other people feel," because there were times that I felt like I'm the only one doing this.
Yeah.
And then I looked around, and that's when I started meeting other widows, and I was like,
Yeah.
"No, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one." And there's strength in numbers. And God, just pray that God connects you to the right person. We're here. You can reach out to us, definitely. But we all see things, like I've learned. I spoke to a widow like probably not long after Larry passed. Her husband died, but her relationship with her spouse was very different. It was an abusive relationship that she felt like, she was an older lady, older than me, and she felt like she needed to stay because it was the right thing to do. So when her husband passed, it was like the weight of the world came off of her because she wasn't carrying that heaviness anymore. She wasn't, praising God that he died. She
Right.
just felt much lighter, and was able to start her life. And now she's married again and living a very happy life. But each one of us has a different perspective. So, yes, if you have lost someone, those are the people that we want to be watching this. If you know someone who's lost someone, then direct them this way. Maybe you'll learn something that can help them in their grief. Those are the people that I'm hoping get the, yeah.
I think we got time for one more question. Okay. If I can hold my phone the right way. Okay. the road ahead.
Oh.
Beyond our story, what is one major topic related to being an unprepared widow, like finances, legal matters, or parenting, that you are most eager to explore and offer resources for?
Absolutely. So 23 years in the banking industry, I
Mm.
saw a lot of people come through across my desk that had lost their spouses
Hmm.
and they were not prepared
Yes.
at all. Like from I don't know what to do. He paid all the bills and now I'm stuck and I don't even know how to write a check. I don't know when anything is due. I don't from that kind of unprepared to I have this, but I don't know what to do with this. So probably for me, being able to get somebody in here that can kind of shed some light on how to go about getting your finances ready and what to do, how to title those things so that if your spouse dies, and of course it changes state to state to state. I'm in Florida, so I can tell you that in Florida, it's right of survivorship. So if the two of you are on an account together in the state of Florida, it just becomes the surviving person.
Hmm.
But other states are different. And so we want to just be able to say, this is for this point right here, this is how it's done. But yes, to be able to get some financial people in here maybe that can help
That would be
us.
amazing.
Yeah, definitely. So I think that
Yeah.
would be a good thing.
We want this to be a resource to everybody. I know we've said that a bajillion times and we'll say it a bajillion more. Like, it's not just for widows. And I feel like I'm kind of getting that vibe from our Facebook. People do think it's just for widows. And
Mhm.
we're trying really hard to let people know that this is information for everybody. Because if you're not prepared, whether you're 23, brand new newlyweds, or in your 50s and been married 30 years, or I guess you wouldn't be married 30 years if you're in your 40s, but
And
you
you
know what
said
I
in
mean?
your 50s,
Yeah.
so I can
Okay.
count.
Yeah. So anyway, we just want you to know that these are things that they're hard questions, but we want you to be able to be comfortable enough to listen to our goofy selves talk about it. And hopefully that gets you talking to your loved ones. So yeah.
We did it. We
We
did number
did it.
2.
Woo, number 2 out of the way.
All right. Very good. So on the third podcast, I think we'll just do some more talking if you don't mind. It'll just be the two of us before we start introducing some new people to this. Again, we've already talked. Liz has met with somebody who will be coming on for the fourth podcast. And like I said before, we're just going to get the elephant out of the room, talk about the darkest stuff first.
Yeah.
And let's take care of that. So we hope you join us. I think we're going to try and release these for now once a month.
Yeah.
So you should be into February right now, and we'll
Mhm.
look forward to seeing you in March. And then by April, we'll be having some people in
Yeah.
here to talk. So
Super exciting.
we really appreciate you being here. Look forward to hearing from you. Again, if you have any questions that you want to ask us, reach out on our Facebook page, YouTube channel. Again, a big shout out to P2P Studios. We are
Yeah.
so thankful that you are here and doing this for us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, we are
Grace
Yes,
after
sir.
grief, our story for His glory.
Thank you.
Bye.